Today is a rainy, gray day, and it is the perfect day to bake a loaf of bread. I love bread, and I love to bake bread. I have sourdough bread that I bake once a week, and I have recently decided that I wanted to start baking a more rustic, hearty, nut-filled, seed-filled bread as well. And I was looking for something very, very simple. So using sort of my knowledge about baking and cooking in general, and then finding some information off of the internet, I put together this rustic hearty bread that I'm excited to share with you. It is a no yeast, no knead bread. It is incredibly easy. It bakes beautifully. It tastes delicious. It is dense. It is hearty. It is packed full of seeds, nuts, and grains. It is delicious, and I'm really excited to share it with you. It's one of the easiest breads I've ever made. You make it all in one bowl, put it in a loaf pan, and bake it, and then you have a delicious bread. So stay tuned if you're interested in seeing how I make this rustic homemade bread. I have all the ingredients I'm going to need for this delicious bread, and I'll go through them with you quickly. So for starters, just because it's right here, I have some apple cider vinegar. This was from Imperfect Foods. The label arrived totally damaged, but the apple cider vinegar is perfect, and it even has mother inside, which is really nice. So we're going to be using a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar. We're going to be using 2 teaspoons of salt. We're going to be using a tablespoon of baking powder. This is what's going to help the bread rise since we're not using any yeast. I've got some seltzer here, and you need to use about 1.5 cups to 2 cups depending on how you measure your flour. Sometimes I need a little bit more. Sometimes 1.5 cups is perfect. Start with 1.5 cups and then go from there. I just made seltzer in our soda stream, but you can also just use water. You do not have to use seltzer. I've got 1/4 cup of pumpkin seeds, 1/4 cup of chopped walnuts, a little less than 1/4 cup of sunflower seeds, and maybe about 2 tablespoons of flax seeds, ground flax seeds. This is totally optional. Any of these are optional. I happen to like it chock full of seeds and nuts. You can substitute any seeds or nuts that you like. It just gives it a really nice crunch and bite to the bread and makes it that really sort of hearty, rustic bread that is so delicious. In terms of flour, I have been using 1 cup of all-purpose flour and 2 cups of white whole wheat flour. This is unbleached, stone ground white whole wheat flour. I would suggest using some whole wheat flour, at least 2 cups of whole wheat flour. It's really, again, going to add to that sort of dense, delicious, rustic bread. But the goal is 3 cups of flour. So whether you use all-purpose flour, whole wheat flour, turn oats into oat flour, any other kind of flour that you're going to use, you need 3 cups of it. And that's everything. Let's start putting everything together, and you'll see how incredibly easy it is to do this. So I've got my mixing bowl here, and I've got my 3 cups of flour. My whole wheat flour is on the top. The all-purpose flour, which is lighter, you'll see, is on the bottom. And I'm going to get my 1 tablespoon of baking powder. Put that in. And 2 teaspoons of salt. Don't skimp on the salt. The salt really brings out the flavors and everything. And I'm just going to whisk all of this together so it's all evenly incorporated before I add my other ingredients. Okay. Next, I'm going to add the flax seeds, the sunflower seeds, the pumpkin seeds, and the walnuts. And I'm going to sort of get them mixed up together, coated in flour a little bit. That will help them from falling to the bottom. Get them coated and incorporated. And then we're going to start adding the liquid. We're going to do 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar. This is going to help stimulate the baking powder. And we're going to do start with 1.5 cups of seltzer. start mixing that up, and then we'll see what the consistency looks like. Consistency is key. Accuracy, not so much. That's one of the reasons I absolutely love this bread. I also make sourdough bread, and it's such an exact science. I have to have a scale and make sure everything is just perfect. This is one of those really user-friendly breads that is much more about eyeballing it. Yeah, it's still a little drier. This is more, it becomes more like a batter, a very thick batter. Just make sure that you get all the stuff off the bottom of the bowl. This is a no-knead bread. Another reason why it's so incredibly user-friendly, and I love making it so much. The texture is pretty good, almost perfect. I'm gonna add just a splash more water, or seltzer in this case, but like I said, you can use water. All right, this looks perfect. So I'm just gonna set it to the side. You do wanna make sure your oven is preheated to 390. It's kind of an odd temperature amount, but preheat it to 390. I'm gonna set that to the side. And what I've done, just to make my life a little simpler, is I have lined my bread loaf pan with a little parchment. As you can see, there's no accuracy here. I've literally just smushed a piece in here, but it works. You do not have to use parchment. I just prefer it for ease. And I'm gonna start scooping this bread batter right into the loaf pan onto the parchment. Okay, comes out nicely. And now I'm gonna spend a couple minutes just sort of pressing it down into the pan, making sure that there's not too many lumps and bumps. All right, so that is nicely put together. Now, another optional thing that you can do, which I like to do, but is certainly not necessary, is to sprinkle some rolled oats right on top. It just gives it a really nice look at the end. Doesn't really add much in terms of flavor or texture. It's more about decoration. And to make sure that those stay sort of stuck on the bread and don't fall off right away, I just take my spoon and kind of give them a little pat to make sure they're adhered to the bread. Okay, we're gonna now pop this in an oven that's been preheating to 390 for 50 minutes. It is a long time, but this is a very thick, dense bread, so you're gonna wanna make sure you cook it all the way through. All right, we'll see you when it's out. So here it is out of the oven. It's been sitting in the loaf pan for 5 minutes, and now it's safe to pull it out of the loaf pan. Pops right out because of the parchment. And I will just take it off of the parchment. And here is your beautiful loaf. I always get this fun crack where it rises. The oats are toasted a little bit on the top. It's a beautiful golden color. Again, like I said, it's dense, it's hearty, it's delicious. I have one that I already made, so I'm gonna cut that and show that to you. Here's one that we've had for a day. You can see the inside is dense. You can see the walnuts in here. I'll cut a slice for you, and then stay tuned because I'll have a few photographs at the end of the video to show you some of the ways that we enjoy eating this bread. I'll hold it up a little bit closer for you to see. You can see the walnuts in here, some of the other seeds and nuts. It's delicious. The crust has a little bit of crispiness. The inside is soft and dense. Just a really delicious bread. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you'll like the video, hit subscribe, and tap the notification bell for notifications on future videos. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will catch you next time.